Next, we have some calming poetry written by our very own Dr. Bronson.
Well, it's great to be here, and I selected 5 poems of different tones. The first relates to my dad, who was a general practitioner, and the concept of practicing medicine in the face of imperfect knowledge. That's the title of the poem. My toes wriggled, skeletal, with the new shoes, big toe, little ones, as x-rays passed through me, no worry of Röntgens or rads. I stepped off the pedestal, laughed, and the shoe salesman smiled, said, "Look again if you like." And we both watched the goodness of the fit. My father, a general all-around doc, made use of x-rays too. How many chest films did he perform? Set fractures under fluoroscopy, not realizing danger of overexposure, no lead to shield his body. In the end, did it matter? Heart disease caught up with him, his 100-patient days, not cancer. After the first coronary, his face, a fractured moon, gray within the mist of an oxygen tent. I thought he would break apart, never return to us. Before the second lethal blow, I saw him in the kitchen, taking red pills from the fridge. "Estrogen," he said, "they tell me it's good for me, for my heart. I'd grow breasts if I had to." Yes, yes, I hoped then, but now no, it wasn't so. There was this theory that women didn't develop coronary artery disease until after menopause and estrogen might be protective. It turned out taking estrogen was just the opposite. The next poem comes from a trip. I was in Salzburg, Austria, and a friend in Munich asked me to give a talk there. I took the train over. And this was sort of the background of this poem, and it's called Cura to Ipsum, which is from Luke, "Physician, heal thyself." One day, while reading the New York Times, I see him there in a photograph, chief medical officer in Birkenau, darkly handsome in his SS uniform, younger than I expected. "What did you expect?" he asked me. "A Dracula or Dr. Frankenstein? We are all maskers, come to the ball not knowing our host, and when the evening will end. I, Joseph Mengele, Doctor of Medicine and Anthropology, graduate of the University of München, would have branded you Leben, nicht, Liebeswerk, fit for nothing, but forced labor, a date with Zyklon B. Yes, I have walked the streets of your university city, streets a friend of mine told me destroyed by British TNT, his Großmutter murdered by bombs, and I've drunk Hefeweizen at the Hofbrauhaus where Hitler dreamed his Reich. I've commiserated the evils of war in this capital of Bavaria, whose mad king Ludwig, patron of Wagner, built him a hall where Tristan und Isolde, his paean to transcendental love, was first performed. I have lectured in this city, where friendly colleagues rapped their knuckles on tabletops in appreciation, rapped their knuckles for me, this time for me. Yeah, in Bavaria they don't clap, they rap their knuckles. It's interesting. It's actually pretty threatening. They all go in unison. No. This poem is self-evident. It's called Hospice, with a twist. Pick of a litter of pups at a Stanford fireman's home. In the span of his 14 years, our children had grown, left home. His regal head turned gray, hips weakened, hind legs lazy. He'd become a living room rug. If he's not enjoying life, you said, we'll put him down. How would we know? He will tell us. Incontinent and diapered, his ammonia smell announced his presence. Then summer came. We left him on the lawn, each day diaper-free, dosed with steroids, immobile in his place, enjoying himself till an unexpected storm washed away his happiness. His fur soaked, carried indoors, toweled down and powdered. Diapered for the night, his eyes told us what he could not speak. Next day we found him under his blanket, a fallen statue of his former self. There was a big old retriever that really grew up with the family. I have two short poems that were in the cluster. This first poem, I love what I do, but I tell you, after a nice weekend, coming back on Mondays is a little hard. And this poem reflects that. I have come to know the melancholy of Monday morning roads leading toward the incarceration of offices, the anvil of their hours. And I know the sadness of blue evenings as dusk passes into darkness, street lamps switching on, illuminating the long way home. I know the dark solemnity of empty houses awaiting their occupants, and the solitude of autos that carry cloistered drivers alone on night highways, each at the end of days. And then the last poem, one of the places I love, I don't go to there often, is Chartres Cathedral. It's just an incredible place. And this poem was dedicated to my wife. We were in Chartres about 4 years ago. Prayer in the Cathedral for Susan. You lit a candle at Chartres, a prayer from one mother to another, and placed it with 100 others, white wax in red glass, a light burning in the deeps of this earthly palace, which men of all stations had labored to build for the Queen of Heaven. Neither of us believers in the faith that told of God incarnate, born of a woman, to rescue all man from death. Yet in this ancient place, in the quiet shadows of its holiness, you felt the need to say your fervent prayer for the world. Thank you.